welcome to another episode of Get Out of Rap. I'm very pleased to say today I'm joined by Rich Knox, who is the managing director of Betr Outsourcing. I've known Rich years, and you know, when you first meet someone, sometimes it just clicks, you have a great vibe, you like a lot of the same things, and you have the same similar views on the industry. And our friendship has developed since then, and we've never got round to doing the podcast. Rich is an extremely busy guy. We've finally done it. So, Rich, welcome.
Hi mate, how's it going?
All good. We'll have to do our best to try not to just talk about football this whole episode.
I'm all right talking about football. It's you're not so comfortable at the moment.
No, very true. Just for everyone's benefit, Rich supports Liverpool, and as you know, I support Tottenham. So, moving on swiftly.
Swiftly.
Um, Before we get to better outsourcing and what you're doing there and how you're trying to do things differently, what's been the journey to get you to where you are now?
Okay, I'll keep it very short because I don't want to bore you or anyone that's listening to this. So, um, 25 years in the industry, so which I could use that label of veteran that people seem to like to use, which almost makes me want to vomit. Um, it's so started on the phones like many people. Didn't go to uni. Had a plan of a year out. 25 years later, still
Mhm.
living that year out. Started on the phones, just worked my way up like a story, like so many people did back in the day. It was a job that I joined for a short period of time, and I hear so many people talk about, now they're almost offended by people wanting to join the contact center, and yet the majority of the people that I know started with that same vision. Yet we seem to get offended by people don't grow up in high school wanting to work in the call center. So, which again blows my
It's
mind.
weird.
Yeah, really, really weird how. Yeah. So yeah, worked my way up, and then worked from an outsourcing side, then went to client side, did that. Um, then did some of my own consultancy for a period of time. And then 10 years ago, co-founded business EC Outsourcing, built that up over 10 years, and December 2023, we sold out the majority stake to Ison Experiences. And at which point I then moved on. So yeah, that's a very whistle-stop tour, but sort of ticked all the boxes of outsourcing, client side, consultancy, and then doing it yourself and trying to build something. And yeah, EC was great. When I left, it was just over 1,200 FTE. And we started with 30, 40 people, and it grew over a period of time. COVID, we absolutely exploded in that period of time. Transitioned from sales to a service outfit, and yeah, had some great clients on board. Had a great journey as well. Over 10 years to grow it that much, and the people around you were the majority of them were just awesome, just good people as well. And that's what I'm all about. You know that.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me. So, and then yeah, last year got asked to join Betr, which was previously called Power 22. So did a rename, and then tried to burst on the scene and disrupt everyone.
Which you are doing for sure. And we will get to that because you're doing some great stuff. But just to unpick some of the stuff that you've gone through, when early on, can you remember whether you were agent or then team leader? Were you career had you become career minded? Did you want to progress? And what was it about you that led to that progression? What were some of the things that you would share now with people around, this is what I was good at, this is what I learned. So to start with,
Yeah,
were you career minded? Was it kind of like, I'm going to progress?
I was money minded. I wasn't career minded. So I still remember that when I was at Sitel, pre-found ever, I was sat around a table with lots of people in the room, And it was some training session or whatever. And they said, "Oh, where do you want to be?" I said, "Oh, by 30, I want to be earning X." I won't say what it was, but it was very crass. And they went, "How?" Oh, well, I don't know. I haven't got a clue. And they went, "Do you want to do it without a plan?" I went, "Yeah, I've got no plan. I literally have no plan. But that's my goal." And that didn't at that point it didn't matter to me whether that
Mm.
was contact centers, whatever it could have been anything. It was so I was just very money focused into it, that time in my life of like I wanted to be successful. I wanted to have the nicer things in life. Always been into cars and things like that. So that was my focus. It wasn't necessarily right. How do I work up? What happened sort of co-inhabited with that was working on the phones. I pretty quickly saw, even quite young, of actually if you got your head screwed on, you're prepared to work that bit harder than most of the people around you, and you're prepared to learn, you can actually thrive in this industry. And I still say that to this day. I say that to all of our new managers now, is there's nothing special about me or what my journey did. It was just a chance that I took, and there was opportunities then of being a team manager, then a senior team manager, and an ops manager over a period of time. But it came back to hard work, and I'm certainly not the smartest person around. I'm probably one of the most stupidest if you ask a lot of people that work with me. I have a lot of common sense. I surround myself by great people, and I
Yeah.
even did when I was younger. I could figure out the people within my teams, even at a team manager level, right? Who I wanted, who I'd focus on, and that's it. So actually, your teams grow, and you go up sort of the ladder. But actually, that mentality has not changed for me. It's all about
Mm.
having those right people around you. So I think, yeah, quite early on, that's what I figured out. That's what worked for me. It doesn't work for everyone. People have their own journeys, and there's nothing right, nothing wrong with it. Any of them, is there? But yeah, for me, it was just hold on. I reckon I could work my way up here pretty quick, and actually, I quite enjoy it. It's around a load of people. Um, you and I obviously share a lot of the backgrounds, and we talk about team sport and all of those things. That was the thing that I loved growing
Similar.
up, was
Mm.
was team sports and stuff. Individual sports not never really did anything for me. Just always found them a bit boring. Put me in a football team, a rugby team, anything like that. That's what I thrived on, and that mentality is still the same to me this day. That
Mm.
that's the fun of it, is working with people. I'm working with people now of different ages, different abilities, all of those things, and it's no different to a football team.
No. And I love that kind of the concept of going, I'm gonna work harder than the people around me. Doesn't necessarily mean longer hours, but I'm just gonna work hard. And even earlier this week when we
But
caught
you
up,
touch on that, mine. You say about the longer hours thing, and there's this big thing about you shouldn't do this. You should, if you want to do it,
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
And I'm not against those people that want
mm,
to turn their phone off at 5 o'clock and have, their work-life balance, all of that. Absolutely. But if you enjoy working 12, 14 hours a day, who is the rest of the
yeah.
world or society to tell you that that's wrong? It's like,
Oh,
no.
completely agree. Even as a contact center manager, I would regularly do 12-hour days, but that was because I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved being around my team, seeing the early shift go, and then I would be thinking, "Oh, I should go now." And then the later shift guys would rock up, and before you know it, 3 hours has passed, but it didn't feel like work. It felt like it was fun.
But it's almost frowned upon now. It's
Yeah,
frowned upon now that if anyone goes, "Oh, well, you work over 40 hours a week," oh my God, that's ridiculous. But then if you want to do it, do it. If you don't
yeah,
want to do it, don't do it. It's
yeah,
really, everyone has their own options, don't they? And I was never forced to do those things. I was never forced to stay like you. I was never forced to stay on another couple of hours a day or anything like that. I enjoyed it, was
yeah,
the big thing. And also I was learning.
yeah,
And again, I was at those additional times and hours, I was then trying to spend time with those people that were more senior around me. So I was trying to learn off them.
that's
And I
good.
always remember One of my most influential manager when I was younger sat down with me and just wrote put a square, and he said, Rich, right, you can do like in 3/4 of this square, you can do your job, no problem at all. I can see it. He said, right, and for that 25%, most people there don't do a lot with that time, or they just spread the workload into the whole square. If you're smart, you can use that 25% of the time to develop, and you can actually do it within your working week and all of that. And that really, I suppose, just hit a chord with me to go, yeah, that makes sense. Actually, I don't have to spend any more time if I didn't want to, but actually just be smart with your time as well. If you're good
Yeah.
enough and you can, use that time wisely, because I look back now, and obviously at 20, if you'd got me on here 25 years ago, very different, probably brash, more annoying than I am at the moment. But it was at the same time, it just triggered something to go, okay, if I want to earn X by 30, then I need to do these things. I always understood that hard work paid off.
Mm.
And that was a family thing. And, dad always worked in the oil. One of the measures of success for him back in the old days was I would work 100 hours a week. Because he'd be working offshore 7 days a week. And so he laughs at me now of, you think you've worked hard. He's just like chuckling away. He's like, you don't even know what hard work is. And I'm like, Dad, falling asleep here. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
come on.
I can barely keep my eyes open. Give me a break. But, when you're brought up with that, it's, you sort of, you live in that and you actually think it's normal. So, and the
Mm.
world, it's dramatically changed. A lot of it is great, but there's a lot of it that I find hard to get my head around when everyone wants to be successful now, and that Instagram life and all of those things, everyone wants that. They seem to not, a lot of people don't seem to want to put the hard graft in or make any
Yeah.
sacrifices to get there.
Mm.
But no one seems to call it out ever, and I
Mm.
find that really, there'll probably be people after here going,
No,
this
well,
is
do you know
ridiculous, you
what?
shouldn't be saying this.
You do worry about, especially even children who don't understand that what they're seeing, A, might not be real, and B, if it is, the hard work that's gone behind it, there isn't this instant gratification. There was something else you were talking about, though, and it comes across every time me and you talk, is even earlier this week, you were talking about your team, how diverse they are, how they're young, they're diverse, and your pride and passion in them, and how, and you said it a few times actually, that they are so smart, and that understanding that when you're building a team at any level, even as a leader, you should embrace surrounding yourself with people that are better than you in lots of
100%.
different ways, right?
Yeah.
And that comes across all the time when I talk to you.
It's it's a jigsaw, isn't it? It's
Mm.
an absolute jigsaw, and you know, put titles aside. No one cares about titles. Well, a lot of people care about titles. I don't care about titles. I say that within the business. The only thing that the title tells you is you have a different job function. Doesn't mean
Mm.
you're any more important than anyone else. It just has you have more decision making or different decision making than other people. Doesn't mean to say the most important people in our business are the agents on the phone, because
Mm.
they bring the revenue into the business. If we don't have the revenue, we don't have a business. It's as simple as that. And they're the people that talk to our clients, customers. So without all of that, they are the most important people. So when your hierarchy of importance or your pyramid needs to be flipped on its head, and actually I'm at the bottom. I'm the least important in the whole business. They're the most important. And the people around that I've got around me, I was super fortunate to inherit a really good team, and super talented as well. Needed a bit more direction and stuff that I could bring, and just through experience, really, of certainly the previous 10 years of right how to accelerate something and grow something, but then also looking at right where do people fit, like you say, very young culture. But then, we spoke earlier this week about Anne, who's recently got promoted. And, so one of her, I won't mention her age because that's rude for a lady and stuff, but amazing, brings something completely different to our
Mm.
business in terms of not just from an aging, but just a mentality thing, and also a respect thing. We spoke about how
Yeah.
she gets respect just naturally from a team compared to someone that's much younger, which is really interesting to watch. And you can't change that dynamic because that's actually just people working with people, but how they work with. But she's flown, whereas she
Mm.
was really nervous when I came in of like, okay, Rich is he's going to set up something that's quite young, it's driven and all of that. And absolutely all of those things I've done. She's then stuck out really like a sore thumb of how impressive she's been and gone, no, actually, you're of massive use to us. Since got a promotion, now flourishing, and she's saying, I can't believe what we're doing. I'm part of this. So she's gone from being fearful to now I'm on board, Rich, and I want to help, drive this ship. So, but those people around us, you look at people like James Palmer, Callie Heads, that have come on board, both in their early 30s. What they've done in 10 years is
Mm.
incredible from a sales and service perspective. Now, James at 27 was leading 700 FTE. I mean, it's like 27 years old, such a talented guy, learned so much. He was an agent on the phone 7, 8 years ago,
Yeah.
and so he's such a big thing. And I know we spoke about the team leader community as well, them being part of that
Yeah.
because they're real people as well. They're the furthest thing from corporate you could probably get, but clients love them because they're real people, but they're also bloody good. And
Mm.
they're great for me because I'm not, I'm the old dog around here. They're teaching me new things all the time, but they're also driving me. So that then helps drive the business on because they're young, because they've got that fire in their belly and they want to move forward. They're constantly every day, right? What are we doing next, Rich? How can we do this? How do we do this? And that's great. And it's back to that dressing room thing. You're surrounding
Yeah.
yourself by people,
Mm.
and they are so much more talented than I am or ever was at the roles that they are in now in terms of driving them. Um, and they will only get better. That's it. And that's the brilliant thing because they're both actually really raw. And I reckon they're probably, and I say this to them both, they're probably at 75, 80% of their potential. So they've got
Mm.
miles to go.
Yeah, that's great.
So super fortunate that we got them and they came across with me. And like I say, inherited a really good team already that was there. It just needed a bit of help with the navigation. And, we've been able to do that over the sort of last 8, 9 months. But it's all about the people around you. It doesn't matter how good you are.
And let's go to just get some of the basics out of the way. Where are you guys based? What's the sort of activity that you're doing?
Yeah, so we're based in so the head office is in Glasgow, and then just over 7 months ago we opened a site in Sunderland as well, and then we've got a home working network. A lot of that is legacy from obviously COVID times and
Yeah.
stuff, and one of the things that when I first came in we have transitioned to more in office, which I know most people are not doing, and they're still the opposite way. For me, one of the first things I know when we spoke was how did I build a culture? Really hard to build a culture when you've got 85% of your workforce at home. Just really tricky. I
Mm.
don't care who you are.
Yeah.
It's like how do you build that? And it's how do you build that culture of growing a business? But then actually people really want to really care about the brand, really care about their workplace, and actually enjoy what they're doing. So transition back into office. So we're now actually 85% in office, and it was and grown in that period of time. Where we so I guess like most companies, sales and service and some back office stuff, we do all of that. Our specialist subject is sales by
Mm.
a mile.
Mm.
And it's something that we are. Don't get me wrong. Like I say, James's side is the service side, and we're great at that, and I would put us up against anyone. Yeah, I really would in terms of that. From a sales side, it's a lost art in the UK. It is
Mm.
an
Yeah.
absolute lost art. Yet the thing that baffles me is 25 years ago, the majority of the contact center industry was based or
Yeah.
learned from telesales.
Yeah.
That's how it all started. Whether
Yeah.
and you were calling, everyone about everything, whether double
Yeah.
glazing, gas and electric, deregulation, all of those things. And yet, I think with the evolution of service over that time, the UK became um, less focused on sales. I think the contact center industry looked at it as an easier gig as well. so flat hourly rate, this is it, just, get you people. Obviously sales can be tricky. So we are awesome at that. And the people that we've got around me, and largely the people that I inherited, are just, they're sales machines, mine. They're
Mm.
absolute sales machines, and they get it. And we invest heavily in terms of the data side as well. So, we spent well over 450 grand last month on data alone. So,
Wow.
it's
Mm.
huge spends
Mm.
on data that is really recent. People that are, have just shown an interest, API'd into us. From you pressing that button, we're probably speaking to you in less than 5 minutes.
Mm.
So the need's there,
Yeah.
red hot, and then we convert it. So it's when we do that as just a normal campaign, we are typically 3 times what others are doing. So
Wow.
and I can say that on multiple campaigns now, what we deliver and out deliver people. So yeah, we're probably pigeonholing ourselves a little bit in terms of externally, in terms of, our messaging out there. But we are so good at it, so good at it, whether that's inbound sales or outbound sales. I would welcome anyone to go head to head with us.
I love it. I love it. As you know, this is my background. My first 15 years in contact centers was outbound. And now the need, I think, for positive customer contact, it has never been greater. So to hear you talk about it with such passion and pride is really, really welcomed and appreciated by me, and I know many, because sales sales sort of kind of, like you say, got started to get a bit of a bad rep. When you think, this, we've got to be doing this now. Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
it's got to be done smarter, and you lead the way in like how that's evolved. But we absolutely need to be doing it, and we shouldn't shy away from saying, yeah, we're good at it.
Well, how do businesses, get their sales then? You're just going
Mm.
to allow, or all businesses go, oh, go and get them off, pay per click, Google, and all of that. Not all businesses want that, or they want that and more,
Yeah.
but they want it done in the right way. They
Mm.
want it done in the right way. They
Mm.
want it to be done compliantly. They want, the people to be genuinely interested as well. So you're not putting people's arm up their back to sell to them and things like that. So all of that is, obviously, all of those things have evolved over
Mm.
time, as the contact center industry has, full stop. Um, there's such a big market for it, and yet
Mm.
people, they just don't get it.
Mm.
Just do not get it. And it's so, as I said, my road plan 10 months ago was not this. Very quickly saw how good we were, how little of it was actually being done in the industry, and how few could do it very well.
Mm.
So why not tell everyone how good we are about it?
100%. And we'll get to your messaging, which I love. It's very people focused and positive, and we'll talk about that, because that's an area I really like. But just on your view of where we are from a sales contact center environment, when you consider compliance and regulation and technology, how, over your period of doing this, yeah, how have those two factors changed?
Do you know what? I think from a compliance perspective, massively. From 25 years ago, when I was first on the phone selling B2B Eon and sending quotes on a fax machine, slightly different. If you tell someone now about a fax machine, they wouldn't even know what a fax machine was. And then I actually
What?
feel really old at that point. It's like, oh, right, okay. So all of that and the compliance around it, and that, that governance that needs to be there, because it not only protects the customer, it protects the contact center as well.
Mm.
And that's really where you want. I think the last couple of years, in terms of the technology side, it is blown it away. You know, and obviously you go on LinkedIn, and everyone's a AI expert now, and you know, telling you how you can do it. From a sales side of it, there's definitely people are more focused to the service side, and I 100% get that. And I think it's going to be great for the industry. Actually, you know, all these naysayers of it's going to take over. I don't see it. What it is this for me, and this is only my view. It absolutely supercharges this industry. So
Mm,
from a first call resolution to just customer satisfaction, all of those things. And will there be companies that are solely AI driven and only? Yeah, there will. Yeah,
mm,
and I have no doubts that actually this younger generation that are probably, you know, still in high school now, I dare say in 5, 10 years they will be signing up to companies that don't have any humans. That
mm,
AI has done all their service and stuff. Nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
It's just the way of the world.
Mm,
Things
yeah.
evolve, things change. But at the same time, there'll be generations like ours, certainly older generations, that will still want to speak to people. The difference will be, I believe, is that rather than having multiple teams across your whole business, one that's in billing, one that's in complaints, actually, when you speak to someone on the end of the phone, they can deal with everything because the
Mm,
system will allow them, will be listening to the calls as well, and it will then, you know, give the customer information. So you know, I don't foresee how within the next couple of years, almost first call resolution almost becomes a thing of the past, because I don't see how every time you call someone and get through to someone, I actually can't deal with what you're doing. Some things might take more than
yeah.
one call, but you know, from a solution base, from a sales perspective, some of the tech's really interesting. We're using, you know, some of the AI stuff on QA now and that, but we are starting to look at some of it of you know, that agent assist and giving you, because when you look at it from a quality side, a lot of it is tick box exercise, isn't it? Did the customer say yes? Did they? If you and I listen to a call, the customer said yes. Did they mean yes? Were they
Yeah.
very nervous when they said yes?
Yeah.
But when someone's marketing, they go, did the customer say clear yes? Yes, right.
Yeah.
But actually, and so it doesn't mean to say I don't think that those sales don't go through. But if that can get, this is the stuff that I'm trying to look at the moment, is if we can almost look at how the customers reacted, or whether there's some bill shock in there, or you know, they are showing some trepidation, we call them back. We call them
Mm,
back on the, and then go, look, just want to go through
yeah, that's
everything to
good.
make sure that you're really comfortable with what you're getting. People will say, well, a lot of people will opt out. Then they would have opted out anyway.
Yeah.
If you hadn't
Mm,
have gone, so actually for me, you've got that opportunity to secure it and then make it better. Um, So yeah, this next 12 to 18 months, I think from outbound will be really interesting of how we can, and I've got people, you know, like so Chris McCulloch and Stacey McKay that work for me, and so much smarter people than me that are looking into all these things, because I come up with a, you know, a bit of a brainwave, and they look at me as if to go, Rich, that's never going to happen. But but we'll see. It's going to enable us to do more. I
mm,
have no doubt in that. From a service side, I think it's an absolute game changer,
mm.
and anyone that's got any negativity around it is just in job prevention mode for themselves.
Yeah, I think it's totally illogical to think that nothing will change. And actually, it's less about, for those people, it's less about the tech and more that they just don't want change, which is odd considering our industry where everything changes all the time, and
Yeah.
you get used to being positive about it. So I love it. And talking of positivity,
And also,
um,
man, the same companies have been flogging this for 2, 3 years and telling everyone how great they are. Yet
yeah,
they're out now going, "Oh, I'm not sure about this." And it's like, but you were apparently doing this for 2 years. So how are you still at the stages of doing, you know, talking about it?
yeah, exactly. From the very first time that we were talking before you were at Better, and but when you got to Better, that sense of we're gonna show up, everything we're gonna do externally is going to reflect what we're doing internally, and it seems to me like that number one thing is we're going to be positive about work and positive about life and positive about our industry. You know, even to the point where for the stuff that we've done together on Get Out of Rap TV, you were like, let's make sure that the stuff that we're associated with, when you're asking questions of the audience, that they are written in a way that makes people think positively. So, because we're all very good at moaning about things or what isn't right in our industry, and
Yeah.
you wanted to flip that on its head, which I loved, and said, when you look ahead, what are you really positive about? And that has this been a conscious decision, or is it just how you guys all just operate?
I think part of it's a conscious decision personally of when I had like a couple of months out between being on a golf course and playing badly and looking at what you want to do next, and also sort of great to have that time out to sort of reflect on what a journey,
Mm, mm,
with EC and stuff, and how we got it to where we were, and ultimately, getting to a perch is brilliant. But then if I had my time again, how would I act, and how would
mm.
I want to do things? Whether you could do it or not, and whether that opportunity arose for me was still, I still didn't know at that point. I hadn't got a clue what I was going to do, apart from spend more money in the pro shop and waste a load of cash on new golf gloves. But so I think it was definitely a conscious decision. What, and I know I've said to you, you've woke up a couple of times on Saturday mornings to some of my rants that I've emailed to you about. LinkedIn drives me insane because I get so many times of people wanting me to be part of talks and things like that, and go along, and I decline most of them, to be honest, mine, on the basis of it goes against what we're talking about now about being positive. I would end up being probably the least positive person in the room about the room, because you've got everyone sat around a table that are also generally not very young. So you haven't got, the people that are coming through the industry who are going to be the ones driving that industry in 10, 15 years,
Mm,
because, the majority, me plus older, will be either at the very end, and the industry will have evolved so much by that point that I will literally be a dinosaur. And at that, I'm more than happy to admit that. But we just criticize it all the
mm,
time. And if I see another post of, oh, I've had really bad service from this person, I've been out for lunch today, and you're not even in the hospitality industry. So why the hell are you posting about, having a bad sandwich from
mm,
Starbucks? It's no relevant. It's easy to criticize. It's
mm.
really easy to criticize. And it seems like now it's harder for people to celebrate than actually just to have pops at people all the time. And so yeah, definitely a conscious effort. And one of the things of, internally within Betr, sometimes I'm the most critical person, but that's more around our standards and where we want to go, and driving us forward. But as an industry, as people, and within the UK, why do we not shout and scream about actually how good we are? These
Yeah.
people are going, oh, the UK are losing jobs and da 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 da. They're the same people that are then going, oh, we've got a load of seats that are empty in Portugal. So the next client, let's try and stick it over there. Not because the client wants it, not because the customers want it, because it's right for their business.
Yeah.
Not because, so they then, pigeonholing that over there and going, oh, that's great. I've hit my sales delivery and stuff. And yet the same people sat around the table going, yeah, we're losing all this work offshore. It's like, look, we know there's cost benefits. I'm fully aware, certainly even from the takeover time, and I've spent quite a bit of time in South Africa. It's great. It's been going for 20 odd years now. Really
Yeah.
good. And the service that it delivers is really good. So that should be a challenge for us. Okay, so what do we bring to the table versus them? Okay, we're more expensive, but what value add can we offer
Mm,
to
mm.
actually keep the work within the UK, rather than
Yeah.
the same people moaning about it, and then the next day speaking to a client and saying, "Oh, I think you should really offshore this work." Not even try and keep it in the UK,
Yeah.
because it's an easy thing to go, I haven't got that option, so I can't talk about being offshore.
Mm,
And if anyone talks to me and goes, "Look, I can save X by going off there versus you, Rich, and I don't think I'll get much more." And I'll talk to them and go, yeah, do it. Go for it. Because I'll never be that person going, oh, I think you're making ridiculous. If I think it's the right decision for them, if I think it's right to come and work with us or work in the UK, I'll absolutely tell them. Whether they listen or
Mm.
not is always different. But I just don't. There almost seems to be a lack of pride in terms of what we do within the UK now,
Mm.
but also we're happy to criticize it all the time,
Yeah.
and knock it down, and
Well,
it blows my mind.
that's why it's refreshing to see how you guys show up on LinkedIn and in other channels. It is really really good to see. I would just say for people out there, if you are thinking of moaning on LinkedIn, don't stop, because
Carry on.
I really like getting the messages from Rich. They really make me laugh. So please, don't
One
stop.
of the things that we spoke about before was, everyone talks about the state of service now.
Mm,
It's ridiculous. And I think I said to you, so has the state of service got worse than what it was 15, 20 years ago? Because I don't ever see anyone that can actually show me anything that shows the service has got worse. They say it's got worse, but they don't actually show how it's got worse. Has the customer view and customers in general changed? Has their patience changed? And are they more needy now than probably they were 15, 20 years ago? I think 100%.
mm,
Because I just think the way but people in life now don't seem to have patience.
mm,
It's just something that people don't have. No one talks about that, but everyone's
yeah.
quick enough to go, "Oh, the service here is dreadful," da, da, da. and then and then they also then forget and go, "Well, oh, these guys are trying to run a company." So if they could afford to have another 5,000 people taking calls so everyone got answered within 4 seconds, they probably would. But
Yeah.
because they don't want complaints and all of that, and so those things baffle me. You know, everyone's quick enough to talk about the state of service, but I still don't. And for me, I still look at it as what perception has changed from a customer, because I do think there's a lack of patience there. And don't get me wrong, there's bad service. You'll have had it, I'll have had it. Those things. But at the same time, I do think there's a lack of patience out there with customers now. They want everything fixed now, because everything
Mm,
now
mm,
is we want it now, and that's a
yeah.
social media world, and they talk about the attention spans of TikTok, Instagram, or everything's changed. The younger generation even more. But is it the service has got much worse, or actually the service has stayed the same, maybe got a little bit better, but the customers they're dealing with is completely different to what it was, and it almost needs to
Yeah.
be rebuilt based on that.
I think the benefit of us being around for a long time is you can take a view. I know would I think our guys in operations, sales, and service have a tougher job than we had,
Mm.
100%, and most of that is customer led. Customers. We are all customers, and we are all part of society, and society is very, very different from how it was when we were in the center as agents and team leaders. We didn't have half of the things to consider that they do
Mm.
now. So of course you can't compare it. But I'm with you in that kind of let's take some pride in our industry and talk about our strengths rather than just it being totally on what we're not doing well and who's doing it better. What are we good at, and seeing your operation and the guys that you've got and that you're
The offshore
developing.
ones, Martin, you don't see anything on offshore people criticizing their own offshore ones. You do, do you?
No.
All you see is positivity coming from, South Africa or the African nation stuff now, Philippines. All you see is positivity. You
Mm,
don't see any negativity. So you don't seeing people knocking that down. Yet we're here moaning about ours and all the jobs going offshore, and yet we're slacking it off. And it's like
yeah, doesn't
mental.
make any sense, does it?
Yeah.
So for you, then, looking ahead to the rest of the year, um, what excites you about where you're at right now and what you've still got to come?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's easy to say that we're just at the start of the journey, but we are. That last year really was a foundation year, and I know we
Yeah.
caught up in December and said that, and managed to triple the size of the business within 7 months. So loads of good news stories. It's about consolidating that now. it's about building the business out. It's about, winning more clients. I came in, we only had one client at the time. We've got 6 now. Really lucky as well. 6 really good partners as well. So decent people to work with, which always makes life a lot easier. Not that they're not demanding if you are listening to that, by the way, but you good people to work with. So continue to build that out, and continue to offer. If I can drive that growth, that drives opportunities within, and that drives growth, promotions within. And that is the passion for me, how we can do that. The money and the financial side of it, as long as we get our commercials right, and we are, we are not risk averse. We are heavily incentivized on most of the work that we do. So we really back ourselves. Is we carry on doing that, building that out. We can continue to promote, develop all of those people, and we will see a lot more people coming through the business that I probably couldn't even tell you their name at the moment. But they'll, in 12 months' time, I'd like to think that I can say, boom, 3, 4 people. Jesus Christ, these guys are awesome, and that gives me the most satisfaction of seeing those people just come on, because that's how I got brought on. It's no different. People 25 years ago had faith in me, and rough around the edges, told you some stories of that I would get in trouble and I'd probably get too big for my boots at the time. But all of that was learning. It was great learning, and that's where you are. And those people now, I want people to be on that same journey. Where they build a career. Because again, back to one of the points right at the start, no one in high school sits there and goes, "I want to work in a contact center." But let's not get offended by that, because how many people say, "I want to work in retail. I want to work in hospitality"? There's not many. Do you know what I mean? There's very few, unless you want to be a pilot or an accountant, or you're really fixed on, what you want to be. People don't dream and wake up and go, "Oh, I can't wait to work in a contact center one day." It doesn't happen. So I don't even get why that's a subject.
I know we shouldn't get fixated on that thought or question, because it's not, like you made a really good point. No one says that about 90% of the industries out there. They dream about different things, and then they become realistic and think, what can I do that is going to pay my bill?
Well, your group of friends that you go down the pub with and have a beer with, how many of those people are in a job that they said in high school they wanted to be in?
Yeah, none.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. Yeah, again, we seem to go, "Oh, God." Our job is, once people, because we have thousands of people coming into the contact center industry, our job as leaders within that is, once they're in, we encourage them to stay in and grow in it. Because actually, you don't have to be an agent forever. You can move into management, you can move into IT, you can move into training, you can move into HR. There's a gazillion opportunities that actually don't exist in a lot of other industries. So when we get people through the door, it's actually, if we do a good enough job, you'll keep a pretty high percentage. If you don't, they'll go and find somewhere else.
100%. Rich, this has been great, and we spoke before. I am going to take a trip up and see you guys, and we can do another recording there, because I'm looking forward to seeing the center and going. Maybe you even let me back on the phones.
Wow, one step at a time.
Rich, thanks very much.
Cheers, mate. That's great.